All right, welcome to the Hellion Rocks. I've got drummer Derek Pontier from Great White featuring Jack Russell on the line. Derek, how's your morning going?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
Busy, keeping the rock alive, keeping the heartbeat of rock and roll kicking, and making sure everybody hears what's going on in the rock world. I know recently I ran into you at NAMM with Jack Russell. You guys have been doing a lot of stuff lately, right?
Yes, we have. Been keeping really busy with it. 2012 was great, and we're gearing up this year. We're starting back in we had January at the Coach House. That's right. We did, which was great, and then we're getting ready to do a lot of rehearsals and stuff to throw some other songs in the set, some new songs to the set. It's gonna be nice, and we have a show coming up February 16th in Corona, California.
Beautiful. And I heard you guys are going to be doing the big M3 festival as well.
Yes, I'm looking real forward to that. That's going to be a great gig. That's in on May 4th in Columbia, Maryland, I believe, and it's at the Merriweather, I think that's what it's called, Pavilion out there.
Yeah, it's a cool event, and it actually gets a lot of media. I think it's going to be on Access TV, so a lot of good coverage. I'll definitely tune in. I can't get that show, but I'll be watching.
There's going to be some great bands on it, too. Like, there's a Friday night, like Wasp and Kix, a few of the groups, and then Saturday, Bret Michaels, I believe, is headlining it, and then there's Twisted Sister going to be out there, Firehouse, Steel Panther is going to be playing that one, and a bunch of others. So I'm looking forward. That's going to be a great gig. I've done big festivals before, and they're always fun. And this is kind of like almost like a Rocklahoma thing, 2-day thing. And
yeah.
I think Rocklahoma was like 4 days or something.
Yeah, it's a cool event. It's cool to see a lot of these bands getting some good exposure. I know in the past you had been involved with Great White, and now you're back working with Jack. How did that come about?
He got a hold of me in the end of 2010, and I met up with him up in the mountains. He's up in the mountains with his family, doing a little vacay, I guess, a little Christmas vacation, interesting. And I met up with him up there, and we had a nice meeting about it. And he mentioned he wanted to start playing again, doing like a soul thing or Great White thing, something like that. Tossing names around and stuff. And we took it from there. He asked me to bring in some players. I brought in Dario on bass, and then Robbie as well. Dario told me about Robbie, and I believe I'd met and jammed with Robbie, with Dario, I think before that. I'm trying to remember what the date was. It was during a NAMM jam at a little club in Anaheim there, and it was really cool. And I thought, this guy's a great player. I said, we should bring him. And so, but Jack had a guitar player in mind at the time. But we brought Robbie and Dario to his place. You had to go out to like Palm Desert and hang with him and stuff, and everything throughout that year, going down to meetings when he was on his boat and everything, and getting things lined out for it. And so it's working out really well,
Very cool. Yeah, you guys are super, super tight, excellent players. I was blown away at the skill level when I saw you guys play in Farmington, New Mexico. Jack's voice was spot on as usual. I've never heard that guy give a bad performance. Go ahead. Yeah,
his voice is really strong right now. He's feeling good. And we just, we took a lot of songs, we put a little twist to a lot of the songs, it's nostalgia and everything, and we kind of add a little flair to them and have fun with it and stuff. And I've played with Dario for the past, 10 years, I believe, or longer, and I actually had them in when I do my other project that I throw together called Cherry. It's like just half my name. I get other guys from touring bands and nationals and stuff, and we do songs from groups we tour, and I had them involved. When I was Dario, Robbie, and I had Frank Domino, who was from Angel, sit in with me, because I was playing in a group with him and Oz Fox for a little bit. And I was based out of Vegas. That's where they're based out of. And I had the guys do a gig with me in California. It was a lot of fun. I've only done like 2 shows with that soloing that I do every once in a while. But I just throw it together every once in a while and go have some fun. I put a set list together and stuff. It's kind of fun to do. I love doing that, He's pretty busy with, with Great White, with Jack Russell and everything. We're getting a lot of stuff. 2012 was great. A lot of great shows, and we're looking forward to this year. There's a lot of stuff on the books already. There's Colorado and Illinois. They're booking into the summer, and they're, they book spring and summer stuff right now. And a lot of cool stuff coming up. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. A quick history on yourself. How did you get involved in playing music, and what led you to playing the drums?
I started playing drums when I was about 9-10 years old. And it's funny because, when I first started, I go, what instrument do I want to do? There was a guitar at the house and everything. I'm into sports. And when you're that age, like, sports, music, it can be confusing times, I guess. I teach, kids, and I can see how confusing it gets. You want to play sports, you want to do music. And I do both. But what happened was, I remember my music teacher in 4th or 5th grade, I thought about drums. I didn't have a drum set at the time. And I thought, and she even said, she was, I think an instrument for you, I'll never forget this. She goes, I think your instrument would be the drums. Just with a kind of attitude or something like that. So I was like, cool. I've always thought about it. So I started doing, the snare drum, and, you did working your way up in the first chair positions and stuff. You had, working into like concert band and jazz ensemble, and then got into the rock bands. And that's how I got started. And, practiced to a lot of records too. Learned to read music, a little bit and stuff like that. And then started playing the records, which is a good thing to do. Like Elf Records, Diamond, Safaris, and all kinds of stuff like that. And other country artists and everything, old traditional country stuff. And that's why I'm into so many different styles of music. I love hard rock, and progressive rock is what I was raised with. But, it's nice to have the other influences and be able to play different stuff. It keeps you versatile. It gets a lot of work, It's kind of nice, because I love doing session work as well. So it's nice.
Right. Do you remember your first piece of recorded music you did and how it made you feel?
First piece of recorded music that I did. Now, do you mean like a session, or like with a band when we recorded with little tape recorders? Because I can go way back to the first band I was in. It was a band called Rawx, R-A-W-X.
I'm talking professional studio, and the first time you heard a professional recording done, how that made you feel.
Let's see. Before Great White, I did some session work and stuff, and with one of the bands I played with in Hollywood, and it was recorded professionally, and then the music was played on KLOS on their local lick show, and that was exciting because it was the first time I ever heard my drumming and the music on a radio station, 95.5 KLOS, the big station in Los Angeles, and that was back in like the early 90s. And that's like the first time hearing it, because the guy who recorded it, what was his name? It was an engineer. His name was Darren. I don't remember his last name, but he recorded a lot of bands on Motown. And we did our recording at Conway Studios in L.A. And it was done very nice. But we had to do like the late shift, like 12 a.m. to like 4 in the morning, because remember band Bad English?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, they were in the studio recording as well. So at that time, we were an unsigned Hollywood band, and you'd go in there, and this studio is where a lot of people recorded there. You'd see these gold records hanging up, Poison and stuff like that, and everything, people that recorded there. So we had to take like the shifts that no one was on, which was fine though for us. It was just great being in there doing it. So that's actually the first real time that I heard my professional recording on the radio like that, and it was awesome. And then I did other recordings after that, and then the Thank You Goodnight record with Great White, which was done in 2001, and that's, it was now called Once Bitten Twice Live. There's a re-release, and I've heard that on radio stations and satellite. That's really cool.
I've actually got that record, and I really got to say your drumming is completely solid on that record. I really enjoy listening to that. That's a regular play in my list.
Oh, cool, thank you. I'm glad you like that one. That was a fun. We did that. Recorded December 31st, 2001. And I just I take the songs, like there's two songs on that I actually have some credit with worked out our new songs when I was working with the group, and Jack Blades helped us produce that. He was from Night Ranger. And then I just kind of, I like what Audie did on the original stuff. He's, I give him all kinds of credit for being, on those records. I mean, that's the only record I have under my belt with those guys, and I'm very proud of it. I kind of just, kept things in the vein. I put a little twist on it, and, and it worked out. I like it. I'm really proud. I like that album.
You talk about the twist on things. When we, at the show that I saw you guys play recently, you guys played a lot of the Great White standards, but in my ears and a lot of the people around that I spoke with, it had a fresh sound to it. The songs were full of life and vibrance, and they were still viable to this day. So I understand where you're going with when you guys put your little twist on them. It's not changing the song, but it's adding your personalities to it, and I think that's a commendable thing.
Exactly, and that's what I'm all about. And it's a good thing to do that and keep it fresh all the time. And I think that's what people want to hear. Like, we do Lady Red Light. We've extended that, the whole new intro to it. You just have fun. And we still do some Zeppelin songs because Jack is known for Zeppelin.
Yeah, man. Great
yeah.
voice.
Yeah, it's always nice to do that. I like doing that. And it puts a nice twist on everything. And people are like, wow, that's really cool you did like that, So.
The cool thing I saw at that show was there was a lot of younger people that were being exposed to Great White's music, which I feel today still is viable. It's got blues-based rock and roll, not over-processed, not over-synthesized. Good, clean rock and roll music, and I'm glad
exactly.
that's still going on.
Yeah, and it's still a big thing to this day. People like to see that all ages. I see teenagers, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I've seen a person one time that this lady at the show, she was 75 at the show.
Wow.
And that's awesome. Music reaches everybody, any age.
Yeah, that's a testament right there.
Mm-hmm. So, that's what I love. I meet so many interesting people. It's great.
Yeah, and moving forward, I know you guys are going to be touring. I know hopefully maybe you guys will do some recording. What does the future look like for you as well in your career?
Well, I'm working with them. I'm still with this gig. I love doing it, and we did a DVD that's going to be released this month, I think. It was recorded for Whiskey on the America Rocks tour. And did you see any of that tour when we were on it? It was with Faster Pussycat and Lillian Axe and all them people?
Yeah, absolutely. The America Rocks tour. Yep. Love
that was a great tour. So, yeah, we did that DVD at the Whiskey, and it's going to be cool, and it should be released sometime this month. And I'm probably working on some new songs as well. And for me, I'm doing my other side projects and everything, and keeping busy with it. And it's it keeps things fresh for me as well.
Very cool. All right, man. We've been talking to Derek Pontier, drummer extraordinaire from Great White, featuring Jack Russell. Make sure you guys pay attention to their websites. Make sure you guys get out and see this band. Watch these guys play. They're phenomenal players, and they stand up for what they believe in. Thanks, Derek.
You're welcome, Betty. And people can hit up the website, Great White, featuring Jack Russell, or jacksgreatwhite.com.
Cool.
All right, Betty. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Cool, man. We'll be talking to you soon.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks.